Okay, and call this regular meeting to order at 6:36, December 1, 2026. The Pledge of Allegiance today will be led by Commissioner Dole.
All right, please rise. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you for that, Commissioner Dong. Hello, Stars, and refreshing sight to see you there. Can you please start the roll call?
Nancy Dong,
Present.
Mary Huang,
Present.
Darwin Rodriguez,
Present?
and do I say the other ones? Chair Barantes is absent, and Chair Cabot is absent.
And just for the records, it's Commissioner Cabot, and then we do also have our two youth ambassadors, Ambassador Fang and Ambassador Perez.
Welcome. Okay. First item on the agenda is the approval of agenda order.
Okay.
Are there any objections to the agenda order? None? I'm hearing none. The agenda order is approved. Okay. We will now have a few announcements by Community Services Assistant Director Matthew Morales-Stevens.
Tonight's meeting is live streamed on Cable Channel 3 and our online platforms. If you wish to address the Community Services Commission during tonight's meeting, we request that you please complete a speaker's card and hand it to our clerk, Star Inger. When speaking, please state your name for the record. If you wish to be added to the distribution list to receive Community Services Commission agendas, please email your request to cscommission@sgch.org.
Okay, public comment. This is a time set aside for members of the public to address the Community Services Commission on items of interest that are not on the agenda but are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Commission. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the Community Services Commission cannot answer any questions or take any action until such time as the matter may appear as an item on the future agenda. Star, do we have any public comments for tonight's meeting?
No, we don't.
Okay, awesome. Okay. Next item on the agenda, approval of minutes. The minutes are, I'm going to read this, but we'd usually go through it regularly, but since you're here new, it'll be good for you to have it, hear it. So the minutes are a record of the official actions taken at the Community Services Commission regular meeting of November 3, the last meeting, and special meeting of November 13, 2025. Matthew, do we have any public comments on the action item?
We do not.
Okay. The time for public comment on this item is now closed. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the November 3, 2025 meeting and the November 13, 2025 meeting?
I motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. We have to vote on that, right? Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Cabot is absent. Commissioner Dong?
Aye.
Commissioner Huang?
Aye.
Vice Chair Barantes is also absent, or excuse me, Vice Chair Rodriguez.
Aye.
Thank you. And then Chair Barantes is absent. So motion passes by a vote of 3 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, and 2 absent.
Okay. Next on the agenda, introduction of the new youth ambassadors. The staff will introduce the 2 newly appointed youth ambassadors, Jai Fang and Amy Lopez, and explain their role on the commission. Star, do we have any? Oh, you're going to.
Sure. Thank you. So we would like to formally introduce Jai Fang and Amy Perez as the newly appointed youth ambassadors to the Community Services Commission. For the public's reference, both were appointed as youth ambassadors to the commission during the most recent special meeting on November 13th, which took place in Conference Room A, and both interviewed very well, and the commission were very pleased with their diverse backgrounds and what they had to bring forward to the commission, including their interests and clubs that they're in and their education background. In their role on the commission, they will serve as non-voting members of the commission, meaning that they will participate in all of the regular meetings for the next 6 months. The only thing that they will not be doing is voting. Other than that, they will be full active members of the commission. They will be seen at events or programs, as well as, of course, the meetings. But otherwise, they will be participating in the meetings as any other commissioner would. I'd be happy to answer any questions, or if I'll turn it back over to the vice chair.
None? Well, we'd like to take this time to welcome both of you, and hopefully you have fun and learn a lot. I want you guys to be very comfortable. We're quite comfortable in here sharing about a lot of things and contributing to the efforts of the department. So, welcome.
I would also say that because you have a very unique perspective on events and programming in San Gabriel, given that you're high school students, it would be really wonderful to hear more about how you would like us to market our events or programs better. Any feedback you might have in terms of the messaging that we put out there to the community, anything that your friends are saying when they do attend programs, any sort of comments and feedback that can help us improve program, that'd be really great and helpful.
Welcome, Amy. Welcome, Jai.
Awesome. Star, do we have any public comments on the discussion item?
No, we do not.
Oh, okay. All right, the time for public comment on this item is now closed. Welcome again. For event programs updates, the staff will provide a reminder of the holiday tree lighting event and recap of the De los Muertos event.
Thank you. So I'll start with the holiday tree lighting. That is taking place tomorrow over in Plaza Park and in the street on Mission Drive between Mission Road and Santa Anita. Taste of San Gabriel will be happening this year. I know we had some hesitation at the last meeting. I will say Pamela Scott in our office, the newest recreation coordinator who we introduced at one of the more recent meetings, has done a fantastic job going door to door with these restaurant owners, doing follow-ups into the evening. Sometimes the owner maybe isn't present and doesn't have a good contact number. She has an experience in sales, and that has shown through in how she can really get everyone to understand the significance of Taste of San Gabriel. She was also able to get some feedback from some of the past vendors as to maybe why they're not participating. One of the ones that stands out, they expressed that they did actually have a lot of foot traffic in their business after, but it didn't necessarily turn into revenue for them, meaning that they walked in and then saw the prices of their goods and then didn't want to pay that price. It just so happens that they had someone across the street selling the exact same thing for significantly less than what they're selling for, so they would kind of leave their business and then go across the street. So the owner acknowledged that it wasn't necessarily a bad experience in the Taste of San Gabriel, but did acknowledge that there were some barriers to those that were entering. So maybe the people at the event weren't the target market, in other words. So that was one perspective, and she'll continue trying to find other reasons why vendors may not be coming back from one year to another year. We do have El Pavo coming back this year, which we're very excited about, and they will be donating anywhere between 1,000 to 1,500 mini conchas, which they've done in years past. They will be here with their full setup, and their team will be distributing them to the public free of charge as usual. In terms of total vendors, and I'll read those off, we have a total of 8, including El Pavo. So we have Happy Donut, Wahib's Mediterranean Express, Paris Baguette, D'Ange Bakery, Love to Go, AK Coffee, El Pavo, as I mentioned, and then Dancing Spoons. And Dancing Spoons is right
Here.
under us to the left, so I'm very happy that they're participating. They have participated in the Lunar Lantern Festival by donating, I think, a couple thousand treats to that one during the most recent Lunar Lantern Festival right in front of the Mission Playhouse. So they've been very good about participating in a variety of city events. So we're hoping that we hear positive feedback after these after this year's Taste of San Gabriel to see, okay, is this something that we should continue, or is there something in addition that could be impactful for them or helpful for it to turn into revenue or foot traffic in the future, but we won't know until after. One of the other changes that we made before she went out door to door was cut it down from 500 to 250 free treats. So rather than doing 500, which was our initial request, was to do 250 per business. So we're thinking that probably had something to do with our success as we were getting closer to the event. But I will say none of those people. So a lot of the people said that they received the notice but didn't read it. So it means that her going door to door was certainly effective and put it to the forefront. In terms of the line for the, sorry, I am blinking, the
Santa Claus.
Thank you. My goodness.
Yeah.
The Santa line and the trackless train rides, those are full. Staff will be going through tomorrow to see if there are duplicates. Sometimes people don't quite understand the directions and maybe are registering their whole family, or like each individual family member for a time slot rather than one family per time slot. So staff will be going through that to see if we can get any additional people that are on the wait list, because there is a significant wait list, from the wait list onto the actual time slots. So last year we had one pre-registration list, and that was for the whole night. This year it was broken up into time slots. So hopefully that will ease the line. So again, very similar to Fall Fun Festival. In terms of performances, we do have the Roosevelt Choir and Orchestra joining us. So that's something new this year, that to have both of them, and then they'll be actually combining for a number as well. So we're very excited to see that. And then the Dewey Woodcraft Rangers, and then the San Gabriel High School Marching Band, and the Community Services Hawaiian and Polynesian dance classes. So those are all of our live performances that we'll have, in addition to all of the other items that I've mentioned. So that is all locked in. And then in addition, kind of looping back to the Taste of San Gabriel, we will have the free hot chocolate that the city always provides. And then we will have some treats that we've asked commissioners to assist with. We appreciate Commissioner Huang for signing up for that. We are still waiting for Chair Barantes. He's trying to maneuver his work schedule. So if that works out, we would welcome him. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us, Commissioner Huang.
You're welcome.
But otherwise, I will turn it back to the commission if there's any questions on that event before I move to Dia de los Muertos.
Okay. I have no questions unless you guys have any.
Yeah, so I'm happy to hear that Roosevelt Elementary School, which is part of the San Gabriel Unified School District, is presenting. Is this the first time they're doing a performance?
Roosevelt?
Yeah, Roosevelt. Or were they around last year as well?
They have done others.
Okay.
Let me just confirm.
And San Gabriel High School was performed, but not Gabrielino, which is where
That is
our
correct.
teen ambassadors go to school. Are there any choir groups or orchestras or any kind of music groups who could volunteer at some point in the future?
I do know that our school has a dance team, so it is possible that we may get, some help from them. We do have a choir team as well, a band as well.
I think the choir is putting on performances this week, so I'm not sure, how many events they could be able to make it to.
Have we tried working with Gabrielino High School
Yep.
with these student groups to see if they can perform at our what is it, Winterfest? What is it called?
Yeah, holiday tree lighting.
Holiday tree
Sure.
lighting. Uh-huh.
Yeah, we always reach out to the staff to see if they have the availability to do it, but we typically don't have, they usually aren't able to join us.
Okay.
I can
But we do.
definitely, ask ask around tomorrow
That's
to
great.
see, and then maybe email you a little bit later
That would be
about
great.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be nice because I don't think I've ever seen Gabrielino High School come out for, to perform, any of the student groups to perform at any of the city events. So sort of getting more in a range, engagement from that front would be very wonderful. So just in terms of, I think we had talked about last time, food being provided by the city as opposed to going out to the vendors. Great that the vendors are able to come out, and I'm sure it has a lot to do with your new staff hire. I wonder, and because we had the conversation about this as well, I wonder if she can do the same thing with the food trucks. If she can reach out to more food trucks who are within our income band. I think I see the same food trucks all the time in all the city events, and I feel like their pricing is way too skewed at this point for us to continue to use their services. Again, there's a lot of food trucks in the community. They come all the time to Valley, Rosemead Boulevard, which is at our border with Rosemead. So, there are definitely lots of food trucks out there. If she can utilize some of her time and some of her magic to sort of see, who else is out there for summer events, that would be great.
I also think that you could maybe get student vendors in, because I know that Gabrielino has a lot of student vendors that would maybe be willing to collab with you guys.
Can you talk more about that, student vendors? Are these ghost kitchens or?
So Gabrielino has a thing called the night market, where a bunch of student vendors basically volunteer and they sign up for this event in March, I think, and they're handmade products, and they just sell their products to students or to whoever's attending the night markets. So I think you could really partner with those student vendors.
Yeah. So night markets, so these, do they also make food? Are they food vendors as well, or are these sort of just more crafts?
Yeah, they're more craft stuff like crochet, keychains, tote bags.
So I think that would be interesting if we could, invite some of those student vendors to come to our events. But, I guess my discussion was along the lines of like food and beverage, just because when you go out to these events, they happen around lunchtime or dinner, families are hungry, and there aren't, yes, you can patronize some of the restaurants in the area, but sometimes you just want a quick bite. And we tend to invite the same food trucks to some of our events, and they, sometimes the pricing is outside of, the reach of a lot of families.
But I think that'll be good too, because I'm thinking it goes both ways. It's their barrier to entry to participation. At the same time, when they become more comfortable, start telling others, hey, you guys could actually participate. Now you'll probably see participation from Gabrielino.
Yeah,
So maybe that'll be a good opportunity.
excellent.
Actually, I have one thing. I remember, I don't know if I was able to bring it up last year, but the performances will still be at the same by the tree, right? It's like that stage.
Yeah, so it'll be right in front of the Mission Rectory.
And I think the only challenge there is that it gets really crowded because everyone wants to see it. And now you see 4 or 5 people behind, 4 or 5 rows behind. It's kind of difficult. Or maybe I'm speaking for myself because I'm not that tall. But, I don't know if there's anything that we've thought about to make them have a better appreciation of the show, for example, or I don't know, louder speakers, I don't know, something like that. But
Yeah, so is the main concern the visibility or the sound, or both?
I would say probably both, because it gets really noisy. You know how it gets,
Sure.
everyone starts socializing and all that, and you'd really want to watch it too,
Right.
but you can't participate so much, or else you'd have to squeeze straight into the front.
Right.
Or, so.
Yeah. So audio we can definitely fix for this year. That's a relatively easy fix. We
That's
have
right.
plenty of equipment out there. It's just a matter of making sure that it's loud enough
Oh, yeah.
and pointed in the right directions as
That's
well.
right.
I know our Playhouse team would probably kill me for making it sound that simple, but they can make that happen. And then in terms of moving the stage, unfortunately, we couldn't do that this year. But we can certainly look at future years. My only concern would be we used the decomposed granite section right in front of the directory as like a secondary stage.
That's right.
Because of how tight the performances are, there's no set up or tear down time in between, so they have to be preset on one or the other to keep it moving. But I can check with staff to see if there's some other solution than what we've done.
Yeah,
these
I mean,
years.
to be honest, I don't know how it can be better, but I mean, you guys are the experts. Maybe you could come up with something, because I know how difficult it is.
Sure.
Right, 4 or 5 rows back. So,
But we can certainly look into that.
yeah, thanks.
And then just to confirm, and I apologize if I misspoke earlier, the performer from SGUSD is Jefferson, not Roosevelt. So I apologize if I misspoke earlier.
Oh, okay. I was thinking, wow, the elementary level students coming out. Okay, Jefferson.
Yes.
And they have a choir
They have a
that-
choir and an orchestra.
and an orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. And that's the first time I think they're performing?
So this is the first time that they've performed in this manner at tree lighting.
Right.
But they've been at the event before. But this is probably the most robust that they've been before.
Fantastic.
Okay.
And then we'll just skip along to Dia de los Muertos unless there were any final questions or comments for tree lighting. No? Okay. So for Dia de los Muertos, let me pull that up. It was hosted on November 7th over at the Mission Playhouse. It was kind of an indoor-outdoor event. As many of you are familiar, it became primarily indoor, and it kind of spills a little bit more outside each year, trying to accommodate more and more requests for the event. There was a professional face painter that was outside. There was El Pavo that was selling treats in the loggia, and then there were additional arts and crafts that were for free that were led by the staff. And then all of the live performances were inside of the Mission Playhouse. Everything went to plan with the exception of the transition from the community performers to the mariachi divas. Unfortunately, when they arrived on stage, they arrived pretty close to their showtime and wanted everything changed. In theory, that would be quick, but when it comes to moving mics and equipment, that is a very long task. Our staff are in the sound booth, which is on the opposite end of the theater, and then all of the equipment is on stage, so they have to rearrange and then write down where each mic is so they can control it from the audio booth properly. That was out of the staff's control, but I will say everyone on our Playhouse team did a tremendous job of professionally and calmly handling that, and they did it relatively quickly. I'm sure to the audience it did not feel quick at all, but considering watching them and how many logistics had to move to accommodate their last minute request, they did a fantastic job. We did receive feedback that the Mariachi Divas were kind of worth the wait, so that was positive, and hopefully everyone felt the same way, but that is something that we'll have to keep in mind in terms of their performances in the future. We did have a variety of community performances, including Ana Maria's Ballet Folklorico group, and then the Roosevelt MIE program was at the event. So I think they kicked off our show, the Roosevelt MIE. And then we had about 400 people in attendance, that kind of in and out throughout that time. And then we wrapped up with the Mariachi Divas kind of leading the way from the Mission Playhouse out to the Grapevine Lawn, where then the drone show was held. So it was, I will say the view from there was fantastic, but it is definitely not a space that we could use for a larger event, because there were some trees that were in the way. It is not conducive to anything larger than Dia de los Muertos, but it had a very positive community feel. The Mariachi Divas actually played during the full duration of the drone show, so people were gathered around them, and it was obviously dimly lit because we had to turn the lights off so people could see the drone show, and so it had a really positive, uplifting feel while the drone show was happening. And the drone show was part in celebration of Dia de los Muertos and then part in Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The show was donated by Grizzly Entertainment, who does the drone show for the Independence Day event.
Oh, great. Yeah.
I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Sounds like the music group was aptly named Divas, if they just changed their setup last minute. Is there a reason for that? Because they've come before.
Yeah, so they have come before. They've come to some of the Playhouse like private rentals, and then they've come several times to our concerts and movies in the park. The difference with the concerts and movies in the park is that they set up their own equipment, so they control it and they know they have to arrive. The difference with this is they were using our equipment, and staff, I will say, used every form of communication between text message, phone call, email, and then all of those again and again and again to try and get a stage plot. And they gave just kind of general information. We set up what we could, and then unfortunately what we set up was not what they wanted. So staff hounded, and that was all we had.
Was there a reason why they didn't use their own equipment like they did last time?
Yeah, so on the Playhouse, we can't have them use their own equipment. So that's really where the difference comes to. To have them use their own equipment actually would have taken even longer to then tie into all of the built-in speakers and whatnot that we have in the Playhouse. Yeah.
I did have some other questions. I think this is maybe the time to talk about. I feel like every year I have another cancellation story. So today, actually, not myself, but my husband went to the tennis and pickleball courts in Roosevelt because my kids are taking the tennis class, and they've been doing that since the start of the semester, which is August, this fall. I believe that on Grapevine and also on City Rec, there were only 3 sessions available that you could register, and I think somehow there was a 4th session that was added. I was super excited about that. I'm not sure how much marketing there was, which might explain in terms of like attendance or enrollment. That might have affected the level of enrollment. But they went to Roosevelt, lights were turned off. There was no one in sight. My husband had my 13-month-old outside, as well as my daughter who was taking the class. So the question is, and I'm a small business owner myself, so I'm very sympathetic to the needs of small vendors. Okay, so what is the cancellation policy with regards to these types of events? Is there a way that we can communicate either to the vendor better? Maybe they're unaware of what cancellation policy should be or how it's changed over the past. And what can be communicated to families and what communication methods would be appropriate as something like this, because also it happened at 5 o'clock when the city is closed at 5. So, and maybe the staff person isn't around, like she wasn't around today. So what are some things that we can do to improve that? Mm-hmm.
So I did follow up with staff. She was out running errands, for lack of a better term, city related. So she did pop back in the office, and we were able to connect. And the 4th session was requested by the instructor to be added, which is why it wasn't initially in Discover San Gabriel. So they requested, and we're fine with it not being in the magazine. Staff accommodated. It was added on. Staff also confirmed via email this morning that hey, you're good to go. They said they were good to go. So there really wasn't any indication that we should be canceling anyone. There were a total of 3 enrollments for that class and then 1 enrollee for the prior class. Our rule of thumb for all instructors is that regardless of whether or not we confirm with you, the expectation is that you are there for the first class for incidences like this. So I believe you and the 2 other enrollees enrolled today, which was fantastic. Which is why we expect instructors to be there on the first day of class if someone is enrolling same day before, and maybe they checked it 3 days before and there was no one enrolled. So there should have been an instructor there, and so that's always been the policy since at least the last 7 years. And that has not changed. I did speak with the instructor, and he said he sent an email, but that wasn't until 3:30 to staff saying, oh, well, we're going to cancel it due to no enrollment, which is not an acceptable way of communication. Staff are obviously working on other projects. Maybe someone called out sick for the day. There's too many variables that one email is not considered a sufficient response. And so that was after he had already said, I will be there. So We'll be following up with him tomorrow to ensure that he understands what the expectations are moving forward and that it's not acceptable to send an email at the last minute for a cancellation. And that does not give us ample time to be able to read it and then contact all of the parents. Our typical response would be to send an email as well as a follow-up phone call to all of the parents. Staff did stay late today and call all of the parents. They didn't call you because I had already spoken with you, but did make sure that they either left a message or were in contact. So they have been notified, and then we will be contacting all of the participants once we hear back from the instructor as to, are you actually moving forward with the class, or should we just issue refunds to make sure we're on the same page. Because there's another, potentially, the two classes can be combined to make the class go, but we don't want to make that call until we've spoken with the instructor. So staff will follow up first thing tomorrow morning, so that way by noon we can have an answer to all of the people that enrolled in the class.
Yeah, so I think providing, in this case, it was a vendor, right? Providing you an email at 3 o'clock when the class, one of the classes starts at 4 o'clock, an hour before, that's not.
Agreed.
It's not appropriate, I think. It's just not enough time for anyone to react. I noticed a similar issue during the, when it was raining, the one week it was raining, and that led to lots of classes being canceled. And when I reached out to the city about the tennis class that happened on the day that it was raining, I was told, we'll know 2 hours in advance of the class starting whether or not the class will continue. And I also don't think that's enough time.
I agree.
There should be
I agree.
24-hour notice, and the vendor should let the city know whether or not it's happening based on the forecast, unfortunately.
Right.
And
Right.
the forecast is going to change because the weather is unpredictable. But I think knowing 2 hours in advance whether or not the session will be canceled is just not enough time for anyone really to prepare, including the city employees and, certainly families. So my question with cancellations is, when the vendor signs up to be a vendor with the city, are they given a policy that they have to sign that says, this is the cancellation policy, you have to abide by these rules? And is it clearly stated? Because it could be that it's buried, there's so much fine print, there's like pages of forms that they have to sign, insurance documents they have to send in. Do they actually have something they can refer back to?
I would need to double check what this instructor was provided. I don't think that there's something in writing specifically stating that. I will say this instructor specifically has been with us for years and very much knows what the policy is. We'll say all of our instructors do at this point, and we always make that clear anytime that there's any incidents. But I will follow up to be sure that we can get something in writing. We're working on formalizing the overall process, so this is just another kind of catalyst to that process.
Right.
But historically, to answer your question, no, there's not anything in writing. They typically do like a program proposal, and then there's like a proposal with all of their fees, and then they go back and forth each quarter on what they're going to do. But that's the extent of that.
I think, without consuming too much time on this one topic, I think having a written policy would be fair to the vendors because they don't know what the, responsibilities
Sure.
are around this either.
Sure.
So if there was something that was written down that said, within 24 hours of the planned class, make sure you have either a staff member available for that class or you've canceled it. And I don't know if they're in charge of messaging families or if the city is in charge. I mean, in my case, I am a commissioner here, so I was able to call Matthew
Right.
at 5:02 PM, right? But how many families in San Gabriel are, enrolled in these classes, and they have no idea who to turn to, and then you get a lot, you just bad reputation, and maybe you don't have many people who are signing up for classes, which then leads to poor turnout, and the classes don't have enough enrollees, so they have to close the classes. So it's, we're trying to build goodwill so that,
Right.
families are telling other families to sign up because it's a really good program.
Right,
So I
right.
think that's important to put the cancellation policy, just write it down. It's never going to be 100% perfect because that's
Sure.
just what it is, right?
Sure.
But I think that as long as the vendors are aware of it, just to be fair to them, I think that is a step in the right direction.
I have a question. Does this instructor has an assistant instructor to help him with? I mean,
Yeah, so
does-
this one actually happens to be a business, whereas a lot of our other instructors are one-offs, meaning they are the business and the instructor. So this one is, well, it's Johnny Allen Tennis who has, there's Johnny Allen is the one that is the business owner, and then he sends instructors out to teach the classes.
he should have an assistant. So this instructor teach the whole class, but he does not have an assistant himself. I mean, you're talking about the owner of the business sending out instructor to all different program, but each instructor should have an assistant to go with him, or he does, or,
An
you know what I'm saying?
instructor. Sorry, I'm not quite understanding your question.
Like
Like a coordinator?
Well, not a coordinator. Normally, for like a tennis coach, you should have an assistant coach. And then, for the instructor, which is the pickleball or tennis, they should have an assistant that, in case emergency that he cannot show up, the assistant can go take the place and they could do drill, they could do stuff instead of canceling the class.
Right, right.
Yeah.
In this case, let me backtrack. So most of our instructors don't have assistants. That's how we kind of keep the classes low, the class prices low, respectively low. They're still costly. In this particular case, they could have sent a replacement. So if let's say someone was sick, that the instructor that they had initially assigned, they could have assigned someone else. But in this case, it wasn't that someone was sick or anything like that. They just were canceling the class and making the decision and had no intention of providing a backup, if you will.
That was a miscommunication because he thought there was no one enrolled for that program. So that's why he didn't show up.
Correct.
And so in that case, like whoever signed up, you have to give them a rent check or you have to refund? How does the city handle that?
Yeah, so in this case, we will be speaking with the instructor to see if he will still move forward with the class with the amount of people that are enrolled, or if he was just canceling altogether. If he's canceling altogether, then we will issue refunds back to the participants. And also at this point, the participants may decide, I don't want to continue, and then that would be their choice, and then we'll go back to the instructor and say, well, actually, no one wants to, we're issuing you a refund and you're canceled. Yeah, so that's typically how that would work.
One last question. Roosevelt, this class is in the evening, is that correct? Or like when the sun down? So that means the Roosevelt, is the court being locked by the staff? Or is actually someone has to go unlock it and turn the lights on? Is it on a timer or?
Yeah, so the lights are on a timer, which I actually wrote down because you said that the lights were off.
That's what I was
And so they should be going on at 4:30.
Yeah.
And then staff go on before that to unlock, and then at the close of the courts at 9, they go in to lock it, and then they auto shut off on their own, which means that there's something wrong with the timer.
Yeah.
As to
So
why
it's an
it's not
odd
on.
court. Have you been there before?
I
to the
have
tennis
not,
courts?
yeah,
Is
it's-
it open to the public, by
It's
the way?
not.
It
I
is
know it's
open
not
to the
open to,
public.
I think the gate is not open towards the street. It's actually in school. So when the school is locked, I don't think we could get in, right?
So it's open to the public from 4:30 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday.
So
and
the
then
school-
9 a.m. till 9 p.m. Saturday, Sunday, and our staff lock and unlock. So there's the gate, you access it from Roosevelt Park, and then there's the gate that's typically always unlocked at the front, and then you kind of zigzag through and get to the actual courts. That's the one that our staff lock or unlock.
Have you played there? And I'm looking to her because she's our pickleball president. Gabriel.
And also, I'm a tennis coach, too.
And a tennis coach as well.
Yeah.
Have you played in those
No,
courts
have not.
before? Okay, so it's an odd setup because I think the signage also needs to change. It's not exactly Roosevelt Elementary School, it's Roosevelt Park, right? Because if you go to Roosevelt Elementary School, you actually park around the block, so it's confusing. Also, it's on the options for learning kind of area. They've fenced out where people can walk to get to the courts so that you're not in the daycare area and you're not in the elementary school area. So there's this weird corridor that leads you to the courts, which probably means the public doesn't know that they can access it because it's within the school grounds.
Exactly. I was under the impression it's a school, so you're not supposed to walk on the campus during school hours. I was under the impression for that for the past many years, yeah.
And so we are working on signage. We just had signage approved by the district to redo signage at all of the school parks. So that includes Roosevelt, so Coolidge, Washington, and Roosevelt. And Yeah, and then the Washington tennis courts. So this week we'll be working on getting them finalized with the designer and then printed next week. I'm hoping next week. It depends on how long it takes for them to print it, but it'll be the large metal signs that will go on to the chain link fences at the respective sites, or I guess at Coolidge, it's the wrought iron fencing.
All right, thank you, Matthew.
Of course.
I'm wondering if there could be a make good class. You know what I mean? Even if it's just even if the class would still be reoffered, and then I don't know if, hey, because of what happened, we've opened up Saturday for anyone who just wants to go. You know what I mean? It's just to make the whoever went there, because I'm pretty sure it was probably stressful. And you can imagine, I'm more worried about the perception of how the programs are run. So, and that kind of customer service probably would be at least somewhat to massage that tension and be like, oh, you know what, it probably was an honest mistake, but they're trying to make good with what happened. So I don't know if there's anything that can be done on that end. Maybe, hey, it'll be good marketing for you too, Mr. Instructor. Can we do half and half? Open up 2 hours, for example, for on a Saturday morning somewhere, and just tell others, hey, there's an extra one for free for those who, you know what I mean? Something like that. I don't know if we could come up with something like that.
We can certainly speak with the instructor.
Is there even a makeup policy for any of the programs? Because for instance, 2 weeks ago, it rained. One of the tennis classes, which was played outdoors, was canceled. But there was no sense of, is it going to be refunded, or is there going to be a makeup class? There didn't seem to be any written policy around that. So if we can also put that somewhere for them to recognize that they either refund the family, or they make sure that if they host a makeup, that they confer with the families as well, because it seemed like when we had asked about the makeup, they were like, okay, well, just Friday. Okay, well, what Friday? And did you talk to any of us to see if Fridays even work? The classes are Mondays and Wednesdays
Right.
usually. For that age group, they also, I think, have Tuesdays and Thursdays. But so makeup policy, cancellation policy, I think those are two things. If we can just spend, half a day working on that to kind of, just come together and see what makes sense for the
Yeah.
community.
Oh my good.
And the second thing is in terms of, well, I think I lost my train of thought, but, so maybe we'll leave it at that. Makeup policy and a cancellation policy, those are two good things. If we could review it as a commission too, maybe, if it could be a one-pager that we can look at in the future, that would be helpful. I don't know if there could be like one policy that captures all the types of events that can be canceled, because every event is going to look different, right? Whether it's turkey trot because of the rain, or if it's, a swimming pool has to be closed because there aren't enough like lifeguards, or something like this where, there's not enough enrollees, but we won't, as a public, we won't know until last minute. Maybe we'll have separate cancellation policies and separate makeup policies. But that's something that we can think about. Now, in terms of combining classes, so I like the idea that we're thinking about how do we make sure this class is being offered to the community. There's a reason why there are different age ranges. It's because if you're combining a third grade or a 3-year-old class with an 8-year-old class, it's just going to look, the skill sets are very different, right? So the agility of the players are very different. So it may not make sense to combine the classes. As well, looking ahead with Johnny Allen, they basically offer tennis classes to like all of San Gabriel Valley, from what I could tell. They do San Marino, they do Alhambra. Is it hard to get another vendor to offer those classes? Because if it's hard, then we love Johnny Allen. We want him to stay. But if it's not that hard, and maybe you know more about this kind of sector than I do, but.
Well, Matthew said that this company, the instructor that belongs to, has been working with San Gabriel City for some time now. And I think you're very comfortable with them. It's just that I think they need to treat our program a little seriously, more serious. I mean, even though this is offered to younger kids, but they're going to be our future tennis players. You never know, right? So we want to make sure that they do take their classes more serious. And then I suggest they should at least have an assistant, just in case that, if the instructor is not going to be able to make it, and they at least have somebody there to, at least show them something to do, instead of canceling the class, and they have to make another day to make up, which I don't think they have done that. They have not make up their classes that has been canceled. So that's just, something they need to look into it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's now these days instructors are not, it's very expensive. Yeah. So you have to have a good tennis coach or tennis instructor that you have to be working with them for some time to be able to have them committed to the city.
Well, I think the best path is really the communication, right?
Yeah.
The mitigation, making it really clear. Okay, if this happens, this is a cancellation policy, and I think I really like that. And we have the registration system anyway. Probably have that as a link, just so, hey, you guys have to be aware that if in any case happens or cancellation happens here. So it's more of like laying down the clarity for that specific situation. And I think that will fix a lot of things.
Yep.
Right. But yeah, I think we've discussed that in good length, but I think maybe for next steps with that would be willing to help, if in any case, to for example, discuss any policies or how the workflows would be and all that. So. Okay. So did we need to have any, to ask about any public comments about that, the programs? No?
There aren't any public
There
comments.
aren't any? Yeah, okay. Awesome. Okay, moving on. Discussion of the work plan. So commission members will discuss the work plan and determine what items could be added or removed, as well as begin working on items. Primary item to review is the survey. Star, do we have any public comments on the discussion item?
No, we don't.
No, okay. The time for public comment on this item is now closed. Okay, we are not discussing that, right? Are we? We can?
Sure. Sorry, I can jump in. So the work plan, you're welcome to run through it, but I think that the primary item that we brought back to you is the
survey.
resident survey. So we made the amendments that the commission requested, primarily moving number 2 up to the location that it's currently at. And then we added in that at the last regular meeting, the commission determined that the purpose of the survey is to determine how aware the participant is of the programs, events, and services offered within the city. But otherwise, that is there. I know that there were a few other discussion items or discussion points throughout the meeting, but those are the ones that I heard the commission concretely land on.
That's right. Only because I know I'd have to go through it again. You know what I mean? But do you guys have anything to discuss about the survey? No?
I think it captures all the discussion that we had last.
That's right, from the comments, it was added in. It was number 2, and what was the other number again? Matthew, sorry.
It should have just been number 2 that had a revision. It was
Because you
originally
wanted to know
number,
where.
I think, 13 or 11 that turned into number 2.
Okay.
Oh, my apologies. And then it was for youth programs. On number 5, are you aware of the youth programs offered by the city? Previously it was, are you aware of the free youth programs offered by the city?
Okay, that's right. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm okay.
And if the commission will just make a motion to approve the engaged or resident survey and allow staff to release it.
Okay, any motion to approve the survey, the commission resident survey?
I so move.
I'm
Any
second.
seconds?
Yes, I'm second.
So the commission resident survey is approved?
We'll just take the vote. Just one moment. My
Oh, we do
apologies.
vote? Okay. Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm ferociously
Lay off the
writing.
gavel for now.
I just wanted to press on it. I'm not rushing it because of the Laker game, I swear.
So, let's see. Commissioner Huang,
Aye.
Commissioner Dong,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Rodriguez.
Aye.
All right, give me one moment. Motion passes by a vote of 3 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, and 2 absent, which is Chair Barantes and Commissioner Cavett.
Just in terms of the work plan as well, I had, sent an email to the department in regards to the bike event, possibly at Marshall Park, possibly somewhere else. I had reached out to Go SGV, which is a nonprofit that's located in the city of El Monte. They do a lot of work in terms of, raising awareness about bikes, and, I guess they do some lobbying too at the local level to make sure that there's enough funding and there's enough political awareness about bikes and the need for bike lanes and things like that. So they are interested in partnering with us. They are interested in using some of their funds that they have. Apparently, if the city's located within 7 miles of the express lane on the 10 freeway, which we are because there's a Delamar Avenue exit from the 10 freeway, then they don't have to draft a new MOU. So they can actually work with us and to some extent use some of their funding, which I think is amazing. Also, McKinley Elementary School, the representatives there wanted to do a bike event with Go SGV, and their event got canceled because of the rain and some other weather-related issues. So they're happy to, partner with us to host an event either at a park or maybe at the elementary school. I was wondering, in terms of this from the city's standpoint, do we want to start setting up just maybe a phone call or a meeting with them just to see how feasible this actually is, because it is something that's going to be new, or if we can take one of the events that we currently have for the city of San Gabriel and kind of like change it a little bit so that it includes something along the lines of bikes. One idea is, Tuesday, tomorrow, the police department's also coming to the library because they want to talk about e-bikes, which I love that they're talking about this, because there's a lot now about like, what is an e-bike? What are the rules around that? Some bikes are not e-bikes. They're actually like motorcycles, but they're in bike lanes. And so they're talking about the rules around that. So maybe it's also a way to raise awareness about what the bike rules are on the road. So we can possibly engage the San Gabriel Police Department in hosting this type of event. So it could be about using bikes, as well as what are the bike rules and how to stay safe as pedestrians when we're walking where we're walking, we see e-bikes coming towards us, what should we do? How can we report any incidents that we might notice for people who are basically using motorcycles on the sidewalks, and not being particularly safe about that.
Actually, just to comment real quick on the bikes, there is a lot of people who go from their homes to school on bikes, so it's very important to bring awareness specifically for the safety aspect.
Right.
Because you never know, there might be an accident, and a lot of youth, like I walk to the school sometimes, walk home, and I see like so many people on bikes.
Are they on motorized vehicles?
Some bring,
It's a
like, the
pedal
electric
assisted or not?
scooters.
Oh, okay.
Scooters, I see some bikes, like motorbikes, but they're not motorcycles. They're like a little bit small. I don't even know how to describe them, but definitely electric,
Electric, yeah.
Electric, yeah.
Okay. And has anyone gotten hurt on their way to school?
I have heard of an incident when I was in Jefferson, like a long time ago, but I did hear an incident of somebody getting hit by like a car.
Oh, yeah, I think I remember that. It was probably 2 months ago.
Oh.
I think I heard that.
No, mine was
No,
a little
because-
bit earlier.
Oh.
Sorry, before.
Because my kid goes to Jefferson, and she did mention this it's in the parking lot, but yeah, I totally understand, yeah.
Bike safety, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know if that is the perfect time to invite anyone from this group that pushes for funding for, because there's some funding for e-bikes and all that. And it goes hand in hand too with marketers of e-bikes, because I think there's aggressive marketing on e-bikes as well, and that's why you have because you have a lot of people on it. But I think it can go hand in hand with laying down the rules and then, having the support of the marketers. I don't know if that's a good meeting to have them in there too. So now you will come up with a much better event because you can get the support from those who actually would spend, the sponsors and all that, so.
Yeah, I think it's important to delineate what is an e-bike versus a motorized vehicle.
Sure.
So if it's pedal assisted, it's allowed on bike lanes. So if you have to pedal, you actually have to move your feet, whereas you're just pushing a button and the thing goes, then it's not a bike anymore, right? But, those are things that, I think that's an opportunity for us to educate the public. So it could be an SGPD event, as well as a community service event, as well as McKinley Elementary School, so St. Gabriel Unified could also come together and talk about these things. I'm not sure how much of an issue it is in Marshall Park. It sounds like might be becoming an issue for Gabriel High School, for students who are biking there. I imagine lots of students are probably biking there. It's a safety issue for them, so I guess what is the city's sort of views on hosting a bike event? Is there any bandwidth for that, et cetera?
So we certainly can look into it further. We would need to see if it's something that's feasible for this fiscal year or something that we would need to bring to council for next fiscal year. It really just depends on how big, what staff time is involved. So I think your recommendation of starting and speaking with Active SGV as to kind of what they had in mind as well, or what they can provide, will allow us to better indicate how soon we could do it. But if it was something where it was, I needed 10 different staff there and I needed a full-time staff member to plan it, that might not happen this year, but may need to happen next fiscal year. But if it's something where I can just have a couple of part-time staff, and a lot of the funding might be coming from Active SGV, then potentially that would be something we could do sooner. Yeah, but
Especially even just the information dissemination, right? The education. I think it's something that's very simple. Have a room, anyone who's interested to learn. I think that'll be good because any bigger event would start from there, right? And because it'll help maybe people be more vigilant with how they should drive around e-bikes or what's supposed to be on the road and what isn't, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll also note that the San Gabriel Police Department is working closely with the school district for those kind of hotspot areas in front of Jefferson and Gabrielino where there's a large intersection of cars and students on scooters or bicycles. So education component for the students, as well as kind of enforcement with the students, and then kind of PD doing enforcement of the street, and providing them the tools to be able to educate their students. Because of course the PD, the police department is going to have the knowledge on the laws and rules of the road, like Commissioner Dong mentioned, whereas we don't necessarily expect the school district to have that kind of at the ready. So they're providing that, and then the school district will roll out whatever they see fit to help offset those hotspot areas and help keep their students safe. But then in terms of community services, we would need to find some kind of fun way to both promote kind of biking and scooting and safety, and a fun way to draw people out in addition to that learning component. But I think that's feasible.
Yeah.
Is the fiscal year starting, is it aligned with the calendar year, or does it start in June?
It starts in July, so July
July.
1, and then end of June will be the close of this current fiscal year.
Okay.
June 2026.
Okay, so we might not be able to. Well, what he's saying is that there might not be enough room in the budget to host an event next semester before the start of the new fiscal year. But it would be great if we could. I think there's a lot of momentum now. You know, car prices are very high. There's a lot more talk about using alternative forms of transportation. So I think there's a lot of thinking around the use of e-bikes, whether you want to call them e-bikes or not, the use of bikes in general, public transportation. So I think there's a lot of momentum building for that. We certainly, you know, all of us, we see people who are on their bikes and they're biking erratically, and it's just really dangerous for everyone. So obviously, you know, and there have been incidents too in Marin County where people have died using some of these motorized vehicles. So I think everyone's sort of talking about that right now too. So there's definitely safety issues. So this is a really good time, I think, for the city to raise awareness about these topics, you know, sometime, you know, next year.
Right. Okay. So that was with our work plan, right? Unless there's anything else that we would like to discuss in the work plan? Because I believe the main discussion that we had last time was we need to, the survey would be a huge part of us being able to determine how we would be able to suggest and whatever we can brainstorm on. So, yeah. Okay. Next is commissioner reports. Each commissioner may address the Community Service Commission and public on matters of general information and or concern. This is also the time for commissioners to report on conferences and or meetings they have attended. Okay, anyone would like to start? Commissioner?
I have nothing to report, sorry.
Nothing else to report?
Okay. I actually have one. I was trying to go to Civic Rec to look at how much venues are or how much it would cost, like the Grapevine Room, etc. But I'm not sure if it was just broken or there isn't any available for the whole December.
I can double check. There should be availability, but we only rent it on Saturday and Sunday. So depending on what you were looking at. But I can double check.
Yeah, or maybe it's just fully booked, probably.
Excuse me, potentially. We do block out all of the weekend holidays, the holiday weekends, so that limits it. So it is very possible. And then we try not to reserve any outdoor events in December just because of the weather. So they're either going to get canceled or it might be too muddy for them. So if you're trying to book the Grapevine Arbor, that could also be it. And then the Padilla Room and Grapevine Room would really be the only two other options. So then if there's an event in there at any time of day, it would show as booked.
Okay. But maybe if we can just
we
get
can
an
double check.
update, yeah,
Yeah.
just because I was trying to, I went on every weekend and I was like, is there something wrong? So I went on each day, but I was getting the same error message. So
Sure.
I don't know if it was just not working.
Are you inviting us to the party?
Yeah, maybe. No, it's for my mother-in-law's 75th. So we were thinking, yeah, it'll be good, but who knows if in any case, you know, if it was just an error message, or if it was a real thing, maybe we can differentiate from an error message, a
Yeah.
much clearer one, because
Of
I'm
course.
just not sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Anyone else with anything to report?
Well, I think it would be great for our new teen ambassadors to look through the work plan for the next meeting and see if there's anything you'd like to add or change and any questions you might have about the work plan. You know, I think you raised the point about, you know, students using the e-bikes as scooters going to school. It's like that's nail on the head. You know, that's what we're talking about, you know, making sure that those students are safe, but also using the road and sharing the road responsibly. Also, you know, sort of your points about the choir and some of the student groups who are in Gabriel High School who can volunteer for some of our events, whether it's to promote their crafts or, you know, share their, you know, activity with an audience here in San Gabriel. I think those are wonderful ideas. So if you can look through the work plan and see, you know, whether or not you agree with what we're putting together or, you know, what you would add to kind of speak to that teenage mind, then that would be very helpful.
Okay. Next, staff comments. Staff? Oh,
We don't have any
No, we
today,
don't have
but
any.
thank you.
okay. All right, okay. So I guess that is it, right? They're like, come on, let's go. The next regular Community Services Commission meeting will be held on Monday, January 5, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. Information regarding matters to be considered at each meeting will be available on the Friday before the Community Services Commission meeting on the city's website at www.sangabrielcity.com. This regular meeting is now adjourned at 7:41 p.m.